Atapu, Assalamu alaikum, Namaste, Haroon Nefer. This is Kasank Maya Kaparu with another exciting video for you. And in this video, we're going to talk about how to change your past. But before I get into that, I want you to hit the like button on this video. If this is your first time to my channel, welcome. Hit the subscribe button to get notifications of when I go live and when I upload recorded videos. Also, we do have free ebooks for you that expand more on my spiritual teachings. You can click the links below and just download the ebooks and start reading today. Or if you want to take your knowledge of the esoteric to the next level, you can become a Patreon supporter for as little as $1, $5, or $20 per month. It's up to you. You can cancel at any time. You'll get exclusive access to instructional videos on how to meditate, videos on Qigong, videos on invoking spirits for your protection, videos on self-hypnosis to stop overeating or to get out of depression, things of that nature. So become a Patreon supporter today. Last but not least, please share this video with family and friends so we can get this revolution started. So Haroon Nefer, how are you? I want to talk to you a little bit about an interesting subject in regards to how our memories work in a way. When I was working in corporate America and getting various different positions as a consultant, I remember being put in positions where I was working with some, very racist people. And of course, the culture at that time supported that type of lack of diversity and racism. And I had to deal with that. Sometimes you have to bite your lip, sometimes you have to just go through it. But I remember seeing certain individuals who it had really impacted. It affected them on a psychological level, because one of the things that could really hurt you is microaggressions. It's just how, you're inundated, or there's an accumulation of things that eventually these small things become bigger things. It's like the snowball effect. And I saw these individuals kind of like burst. They just really couldn't take it anymore. And it's not nothing due to them. It wasn't their fault, but you had a system, or you have a system that is predicated upon racism, sexism, and it refuses to change. It refuses to do anything about that. In fact, what it does is it goes out of its way to make the victim seem like there's something wrong with them and their perception of the world, when that's not necessarily true. You must rest assured that your perception is correct, and your suspicions are correct. You have a global system that does not want you on the planet. This is why you'll hear people in the conspiracy theory talk about depopulation, New World Order, because they have their finger on the pulse of what's going on. They know something's not right. And though maybe the execution of how they're going about things is not totally correct, they are fully aware of the fact that there is a plan in place to get rid of a certain population of the people on the planet. And one of the things that we know is the ruling elite, the cabal, does not like the population of people of color on the planet. And there's various reasons for that. And I outlined that in a book that I kind of published called The True Cause of Slavery. So what I want to do is I want to address something that's very important, and how to keep you sane in an insane world. You see, the bombardment of these microaggressions, this racism, this insanity, even caught up in what we see today with COVID-19, is going to be there. It's not going to go away. This is an incarnation that you agreed to. You're being reborn at this particular time. As the ancient Chinese saying goes, may you live in interesting times. We are in interesting times. So don't expect this to go away. And the great I-ching oracle, when I consulted this, likened this to the 29th hexagram. And the 29th hexagram is the abysmal. It means you're in a very, very tough situation, and you have to learn how to navigate through it. Oh, excuse me, that's important. And if you don't, then you could really, endanger your health and your sanity and all those things of that nature. So it's very important that we understand that this situation is not of our making, not of our cause, and we didn't do anything wrong. But the only thing is, we did make a soul contract agreement to be here at this time, to help the planet transition out of this chaos, out of the 29th hexagram into something better. And it will. But for that time being, as a magician, as an Osirian, you've got to learn how to invoke your power so that you can get through these times, so you can understand that the reason for this being in place is to stretch and grow your spiritual muscle. Because without this pushback, without the ruling elite, you would not come into a full realization of who you are as God man, God woman. You must understand that you cannot have the good without the bad and the bad without the good. There is an interconnection, interdependence between the two. So, today I was watching these gurus and, these Indian gurus talking about life, philosophy, challenges. And they were saying that what one must do to reach nirvana, to reach peace. And I'm saying it's easy for them to espouse such notions when they're living in the comfort in their temple in the mountains, and they're not affected by the frequencies, the subliminal images that are being pumped out on a daily basis to get you stressed out and aggravated and upset. It's easy for them in their beautiful gardens with the flute playing, the nice meditative music, to talk about transcendence, to talk about nirvana, to talk about being at peace. It's easy. But the real challenge is, and that what makes you grow, is meeting adversity head on and overcoming it. That is what you are supposed to be doing. You're not supposed to be up in some mountain meditating for years and years, away from difficulty, away from challenges, away from combat. That's not how it's supposed to be. Because you must understand that on the Kemetic tree of life, there is the god Hurukuhuti, god of divine justice, the warrior god. So there's an aspect in you that is a warrior spirit that's ready to do battle when the time is necessary. When the ma'at, the violation of ma'at happens, she sends Hurukuhuti to cut heads. That means that ma'at, let's not get it twisted, is within you. And Hurukuhuti is within you, ready to be invoked at the right time. But these things will not come out if you're not challenged. You say, well, I just want to go to Africa and live with a shaman and be secluded and study the animals and the trees. And yeah, you can do that, but there will be no spiritual growth. You won't come into the realization of your power. And that's not what you were meant to do. That's not your destiny. You incarnated here for a reason. You're going through this challenge for a reason, because the planet needs you. And you must understand that. The only thing that has caused trouble is that you have been robbed from a knowledge of self, meaning you don't understand who you are and what your power and your capabilities are. So you think out of the left brain that you're this concrete, limited being, that you're not connected to all, that you are separate from all, and that there's a separate reality out there. And you're just a person in an environment going through various scenarios. That's not true. You're connected to everything. Carl Sagan and many astronomers and cosmologists talk about you are made of the stuff of the universe. So there's a connection there. And anytime that we see these things crop up in life, these challenges and these strifes and these difficulties, we must tie it back to a belief system. Because remember, too, he says nothing has a quality in and of itself. So you have to question and say, is this really bad, or is it an opportunity? Is it an opportunity for me to come into the realization of who I am? Is it an opportunity for me to go to the oracles and get a deeper meaning out of life, and get a deeper meaning as to these events and circumstances? When we face racism, are you facing it from the right perspective? Now, one of the things that I did was I knew the cumulative effects of what these microaggressions could do to an individual. You're being programmed by the media, you're being programmed by corporate America, you're being programmed by the universities to say that you are inferior, you're not enough. Of course, it's all a lie. These are micro programs. And these micro programs exist in the ether as ergomores, as pendulums. And as my teacher said, it's all a suggestion. If you buy into the suggestion, if you accept the suggestion, then it becomes a core belief system, and then you manifest that reality in that scenario, and you'll have to play it out. But if you filter it out, if you go dark and you say, I don't accept that, then you become the master of your domain. Then things change. And I want to give you a technique so you will be able to deal with these difficulties better. You see, you have a right and a left hemisphere of the brain. And the left hemisphere works through a paradigm, meaning it looks into a future possibility, or what it believes is a future possibility, because we know there's no future, there's no past, there's only the present moment. And then what it does is it says, okay, we want to accomplish this, but then it goes back into its reference experience and looks for a paradigm. It looks for a basis for something. And if the basis of everything that it sees from the historical experience of what you have gone through is one of racism, segregation, depriving you of opportunities, if all it sees is that, then it will limit you unconsciously in what you want to achieve. It will work with the right brain to place parameters around you, limitations around you, and they will manifest. So we must deal with that. You see these motivational coaches who come along and say, you can do anything you want, take the bull by the horns, be assertive, be outgoing. You cannot get around the subconscious mind. It's always there, and it's always awake. And whatever it is that you want to achieve, that left brain is going to go back and look in the reference experience and look for a paradigm of where have we done this before? Is it achievable? You see, many people of color in this country, North America, have self-imposed limitations because they have knocked their head against the wall so many times that the left brain says, don't even think about it. Don't even think about trying this. So they've constructed through the right brain, the subconscious mind, a life for them of limitation. And they don't go beyond those parameters. And they actually create and manifest the people, places, and things that will limit them from achieving greatness. They manifest a boss who will not promote them. They manifest a career that will not give them monetary compensation for their knowledge. All these things they create because the reference experience that they have built up is an accumulation of racism and limitation and challenges. And in the worst case scenario, trauma, where people have been through very traumatic events. Altercations with white supremacists, altercation with street thugs and things of that nature, or bad family life. And it creates the safety mechanism within the mind, meaning that you see instinctively the mind, the body experience that you're living does not want harm for you. And it will do everything possible to keep you out of harm's way. It wants to limit you. And in limiting you, it's a safety mechanism. It is saying that if you try this, there may be danger, so don't do it. But you've got to awaken into your higher mind, your higher being. Meaning that you honor that. You say, I understand that there is danger here, but as a divine being, you must know how to navigate that. And part of that is that God has left us the oracle system to tell us, oh, don't turn left, turn right. Don't marry that person, marry this person. The oracles are your guide to avoiding danger. But the animal spirit, the mind body, acts on instinct. It acts on reference experience, and therefore it imposes the limitations to protect you. But you must rid yourself of those limitations and act out of the higher mind. You must attach your consciousness to the Akashic records to get supreme wisdom. Many people cannot go beyond the drama that they have experienced in the past, and they bring that to the table with every relationship they experience. And they replay it out over and over again, cycle after cycle. And then they wonder why. Well, why do I have these troubles with my mate? Why do I have these, troubles with family or people? And unless you deal with that junk in the trunk, with what is trapped in the subconscious mind, you're always going to experience those things. You see, the self-help community is sincere, and they intend to have good intentions, but they are limited by left brain thinking, meaning they think that just because you hear a motivational speaker or you read a book on self-help, it will change you. You'll have an epiphany and you'll course correct. No, you've got to deal with what's trapped in the subconscious mind because it's been accumulating there. And all it's going to do is play itself out again and again and again until you purge it or you integrate it. And one of the modes and methods that I used was that I knew that there was no future, no past, but only the present moment. See, the present moment, the minute that you have a new belief system, the minute you accept a new program, it changes the past. And then that past changes the present because they're tied together. There's only the one. We can call it a singularity. But we have been deceived to believe that there's this individualization of the three, past, present, and future. No, there's not. It's just the present. And what happens in this present moment changes everything. In other words, if I accept a new belief system at this time in this place, then automatically consciousness will shift to a new parallel reality and adapt a new past from that parallel reality. It'll branch to a new reality, parallel reality, find that past, and then connect to that past in that parallel reality. And then consequently, that parallel reality, that past, will connect to a new present moment, a new present me. So there's that connection. This is why it's so important that when we find that things don't work out in our lives, that we attack the problem right then and there. Let us say I wanted to get into UCLA, and I put my portfolio together, and then I went and I met with the faculty, and I did my presentation, and then 2 weeks later, I got a letter of rejection. What happens then? Well, the letter of rejection is simply a suggestion. It is saying, do you buy into this reality of you being rejected from UCLA? Or do you come into the realization of yourself as God, man, God, woman, and decide to attach to a different reality in a parallel world? Now, how does that work, Kasank? I don't understand. Well, it works by this. Yes, you've got the letter of rejection. But when you're looking at that letter, you formulate in your mind what you want that letter to say, what you believe that letter should say, that you've been accepted, right? And then you hold on to that thought. You hold on to that vision for as long as humanly possible, for as long as you can, visualizing it over and over again in the day, before you go to sleep, in your dreams, passionately visualizing that. Now, I want you to understand how magic works and how the right brain works. Okay? You see, we have been indoctrinated into left brain thinking to where it's Cartesian logic. We think one-to-one correlations, one-to-one relationship. Magic doesn't work that way. The universe doesn't work that way. What do I mean by that? What I'm saying to you is that you've been watching so many Hollywood movies that if you think that you say abracadabra and this book will turn into an apple, well, magic don't work like that. A lot of times, magic is very indirect. So in other words, what I'm saying to you, if you are visualizing over and over again that that rejection letter is really an acceptance letter, UCLA may contact you and say, we made a mistake. Or if that doesn't happen, you'll find out that one of the faculty is a board member on another prestigious university. And he liked your presentation, and he may contact you and say, yeah, although you didn't get accepted to UCLA, there's another prestigious university, and we'd like to talk to you about attending. That's how it works. Because that opportunity at UCLA may have not been the right course for you and your destiny, but this other university may have been perfect for you. And that's the magic. So don't always look for the one-to-one correlation. When I say that you are having troubles in your relationship with your mate, and it's, you're fighting and it's physical altercations and all that, and I say, well, that's you can actually sit and meditate and have the relationship change. Many people are like, so does that mean that the universe or God will bring me a new mate? Yeah, that's possible. Yeah, you may get a different mate that's more loving, caring, receptive, or through magic, that person may change internally and become more accommodating, maybe become more likable, agreeable. The thing is, you must open your mind to the possibilities of how the magic can work. If you're so focused on it happening one way, then you actually you place a limitation on that magic. So what I did was every time I encountered these challenging situations, or was it racism or whatever it was, I would go back and play the scenario over in my mind and rewrite the script to play it out the way I wanted it to work. Do you understand? When I had trouble in the university with my professors, I would go back and meditate and play it out and see me having a better relationship with my professors and them giving me accolades. There was, this is a real situation that happened when I was in the university. I did this 3D film. And I had a film professor who shouldn't have really been a professor. He was just a horrible professor. And this is my thesis project. And he came to me and he said, I'm going to recommend that you be kicked out of the film program. You did this 3D thing without consulting me. You should have talked to me about this. And I said, well, I didn't know we had to get your permission to make a film or do anything of that nature. So it was obvious he didn't want me in the program, and he was true to his word, because they had to vote on whether to keep me into the program or not. He voted to not keep me in the program. But even back then, I knew how magic worked. And at the end of that semester, something miraculous happened. A major film magazine did an entire issue on me. They talked about this 3D film I was doing. They had photos and everything about that, talked about the university I went to. And people across the country were writing and sending me money, talking about, I read that issue of the film. Here's some money. If that university is not treating you right, go find someplace else to go. And it was wonderful to get that type of recognition and exposure. You understand? But that's how magic works. So I want you to start thinking about the things that have happened in your past that may have not worked out to your benefit. And I want you to replay those scenarios in your mind, embed them with strong emotional intent. And as you are replaying them in your mind, do not accept how you believe it transpired, but rewrite the script of how you wanted it to transpire. And if you hold on to that for long enough, when the left brain wants to accomplish something, or when you want to accomplish something, and the left brain does the reference experience, and it goes back to look for the paradigm, it will only find models of success. And then what it will do is communicate with the right brain, and it will remove the obstructions from your 4D reality. Let me say that again. If you are doing this exercise properly, and you are taking these individual instances of things that didn't go the way you wanted them to go, maybe you weren't born into the right family, you were born into poverty, born into abusive family, have an abusive relationship. If you hold on to the thought of what you want to happen, I'm in a great family, great relationship, and you replay that over again and you express the joy, when it comes time to make moves in the present here and now moment, that left brain is going to look back and say, have we done anything like this before? What's the precedent? Where's the paradigm? And when it finds models of success in the past, it'll then work to create a present now moment that removes obstructions and limitations from your life. And it will start to open doors. And you will see this slowly but surely. You'll start to see things go your way. It won't happen all in one pop. You're not that strong a magician yet. But you will slowly start to see things turn in your favor. It's like you're ever driving on the freeway. If you notice, if you hold steady on a straight line, you'll get to your destination. But if you just venture off a little bit, you will miss the destination. You will go off in a totally new direction. So this exercise that I'm giving you doesn't require an elaborate ritual, a lot of focus and energy. It requires repetition. It requires focus. And that little change that you do will steer you in a new direction in your life, a new direction of success and prosperity. And all you did is, when the suggestion came, when the program came, you rejected it. And you rewrote the script. You reprogrammed it. Let me give you an example. You know, a lot of times I'll get into circumstances where a company will ask me to work as a consultant with them and to solve problems that they have, technical problems. And a lot of times it's, well, you know, because we may value, but put simply, in this arena, if you are white or if you're Asian, they take your advice with more weight. But if you're like African American or you're biracial, there's always that stop and pause and that question. Are you sure you're right? Are you sure? And I'm like, yes. Listen to me. So what I tend to do is, in those situations, I try not to get frustrated. I say, okay, fine. I go home that night and I replay the scenario. And I replay the scenario of me being proven right. And sure enough, I come in the next day and they're like, oh yeah, you were right about that code. Sorry, you were absolutely right about that code. And I do it often, all the time. They have certain department heads, and I will give them advice. I'll say, that person should not be head of that department. are you sure? You know, they've been with us for a while. I'm like, they're not good at their job. And I don't argue. I just go home and play out the scenario. And something happens to eventually where they see, oh my God, this person isn't right for that department. Why did we have them in that role for all this time? Thank you, Kasak, for pointing that out. You know, because if you get in the debate and the battle, you know, it's not going to work. Friend sent me a video. I think it was Riza Islam or something, debating some guy who's a white supremacist. But, you know, the white supremacist really wanted to have a change of heart. He really wanted to see things differently. So they're sitting there debating with him, talking about what it's like to be a minority and experience. And I'm like, that's not going to change him. It's not going to change him. In fact, you're going to get more heated in that discussion with him. And part of the reasons why I don't advise that you get into those situations is because that person is of no real power and position to influence anything. So you changing their mind on something is not going to make a big difference. But anyway, when you take that experience and you replay in your mind and you see that person becoming more accommodative, more understanding of what it's like, it has a profound impact. In other words, going back to what I was saying, it shifts you from this reality to where you're accessing a past from an alternate parallel reality. And that past then accesses a new present moment, and then consequently what you believe is a new future. You see, and let me hip you up on this game so you understand what really is going on here. The ruling elite has hacked your psyche. They know everything I'm talking about, and they because they are black magicians of the highest order. So they have hacked your psyche to implant a new past. See, the past that you read about in the history books and the universities that teach you, that's a lie. That's not what really happened in the past. It's an implant. It's a thought virus that they planted there so that when your left brain goes to access history or what you perceive as history or the past, you automatically think of primitive man, caveman, this, that. That's all a lie. That is part of a parallel reality that they're connecting you with, but it's not really your past. You see, your real past has been hidden from you because, you see, they want you to access. By default, accessing that past, you will then access a present moment and a future of limitation. If they can get you to believe that the past was primitive and man started from a lowly state and evolved into where we're at now, and man is only about concrete thinking and not about metaphysical spirituality and very powerful, if they can get you to buy into that suggestion, you will then manifest and create the present and the future moment as limitations. As things such as, there's no spiritual power, there's no metaphysical, there's only the concrete, there's only the things that I can perceive with the five senses. Do you know how limited our perception of the frequencies, the light waves are? We perceive less than 1%, meaning we're not really seeing reality. And there's a time dilation. So the light that's hitting you, your iris, is a delay. So you're not really seeing things in real time, but they don't tell you this. So they have implanted within you and hacked your psyche to give you access to a parallel history, one of limitation, so that you can create a present and a future of limitation. But if you flip the script and every experience that you have that doesn't go your way, you replay it so that you are successful, so that, as Charlie Sheen says, winning, then it's going to create a new present and new future for you. And it's going to remove the limitations that have been placed in your way. But you've got to awaken to a knowledge of self and come into the understanding of who you are. Someone was talking with people in the conspiracy theory arena online. They were like, what's the biggest conspiracy, Kasak? Is it that Jesus never lived? Is it that there's aliens? Is it there's parallel worlds? What's the biggest conspiracy on the planet? And I said, the biggest conspiracy on the planet was to fool you to think you were human, that to remove the knowledge that you are God. That's the biggest conspiracy. Because if you don't come into a realization of that, everything else is useless. If I understand that I control this 4D experience, that changes the ball game. That changes the playing field. That's the biggest conspiracy, to fool you into accepting concrete, linear space-time thinking. They only want you to perceive that which you can see, hear, feel, and taste. Those are limitations of the physical. We are not physical beings. We are metaphysical. We are consciousness. And there's so much more to our experience. We can separate from the body and experience infinite universes, infinite dimensions. But they're not going to tell you that secret. They don't want you to awaken to that fact. Because then you'd have a planet of gods and goddesses, and that would get rid of them. See, when you awaken to this fact, you shift to a different parallel reality. And if more people keep awakening and awakening and awakening, we're going to shift to a parallel reality where the Illuminati, the global elite, don't exist. That's their fear. They've got to keep a certain percentage of the planet trapped in concrete left brain thinking. And that is the majority. Because if the majority shifts to a new vibrational frequency, they no longer exist. And going back to what I was saying, you're going to need the challenges. You're going to need the strife. You need this in your life to awaken you to your power. So I want you to start out, as I said before, taking an audit of your experiences from the past. Take something that was near and dear to you that didn't work out. And you were like, oh, if only things had went different, my life would be different in that scenario. Then key in on that and replay it, you know? And then hold on to it as long as possible. And I will guarantee you, you're going to see things shift in your present reality. It's going to start to change. Simply by rewriting your past, you're going to change everything in the present and the future. And this is the real work of alchemy. This is the real work of spirituality. Because, you know, it's great to meditate, Om, I'm at peace, Nirvana, nothing can challenge my peace. But if you don't deal and contend with the junk in the trunk, what's trapped in the subconscious mind, the experiences that you've undergone, if you don't deal and contend with that, it's just going to manifest over and over again. End that crap once and for all. I was meditating earlier this week, and I encountered something trapped deep within my subconscious mind. And I was like, oh, there you are. Yeah, that's the little guy that's been causing me all this problem. I mean, this thing was deep in my subconscious mind. And I realized that it was serving me no good. It was causing problems. But then I realized, I said, this thing is so deep, it's going to take some work to get it out, to ferret it out. So I'm either going to have to work with someone who's going to have to put me in trance really deep to get it out, or myself take 72 hours and try to go deep enough to get rid of that thing. There are some things that you've got that are so hidden and so deep in your subconscious mind, it's going to take a lot of work to get that out. And that is the very thing that's probably causing you your most trouble. That is the very thing that's probably tripping you up in life. There are many mysteries to the subconscious mind. It acts without your conscious awareness. And as I said before, a lot of times what it perceives is to protect you. And in most cases, that's really causing problems and limiting you. And you're not even aware of it. It's very difficult to be objective in that situation, because you have to step outside of yourself and look back upon yourself. And that's not easy, because many of you have never had an out-of-body experience. You've not astral traveled, so you can't do that. So it's difficult for you. This is why you need to work with a hypnotherapist or somebody of that nature to take you deep into trance and to get those things out or address those things, to relieve that pain that's trapped there. And you don't even know it's there. You don't even know it's causing you pain. You just know that, oh, I've resigned to my lot in life. This is what things are. This is why things happen. I don't know why. It's just, this is how it is. No, baby girl, you got something deep inside of you. And you need to start looking at that. And the sad part is, many of us go through our entire lives never addressing these things, never working this stuff out, dying, and then going before Ma'at and Osir and Tahuti, and then being judged. So when you know better, you do better. Now that you've come into an understanding of there's things that may be trapped inside you that you need to address, start working on that, because the benefits are going to be wonderful. Because when you clear that out, you're going to see all kinds of success come your way. Extra money, extra opportunities, better relationships. But it takes work, and this is the nature of spirituality. This is what you are here for. You see, their goal is to strip you of all this knowledge, to strip you of this understanding. And they'll say, oh, that guy Kasant don't know what you're talking about. You know, just listen to this motivational talk and grab the bull by the horns and go out there and conquer the world. Doesn't work like that. Doesn't work like that. If it did, a lot of people would be successful. There would be no famine. There would be no war. Because all you would need is somebody to just stand up and give you a motivational talk. And it would overcome evil and overcome all the sadness in the world. But that junk does not work. Yeah, motivational talk will get you hyped for a couple of minutes, maybe a day or so. But then you go back into your default core frequency. You can't escape who you are. You can't. Wherever you go, you'll be there. And unless you do the trance work, the work of taking the audit of your past and looking at your past and rewriting those scripts, unless you do that work, nothing's going to change. You're going to be stuck in a rut. So take a moment. So I want to thank you for tuning in for today's broadcast. Keep in mind that YouTube still has demonetized this channel. So if you get an opportunity, please donate to the channel. The PayPal link is in the description box there. And lastly, just remember who you are. Keep in mind that you are a Ser. You're a God. You're not human. You're not a sinner. You're not a color. You're not a gender. Don't let them label you as such. This is Gasak Ma Kaparu, son of Ma and Tuti. Ma is a beautiful goddess Hedaru. Until my next video, I'm in Ra.